The find out phase is underway as sociopathic anti-ice harpies are getting a bit convicted. Oh, yeah. America's most infamous serial baby killer is dead. Goodbye. And here we go again. Tampons in the men's room. I thought we were done with this crap. Apparently not. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. Happy Wednesday! It is indeed Wednesday, and we are live on Rumble and YouTube, both platforms carrying this show live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, also our podcast on Spotify, Apple iTunes, all the podcast platforms. Just look us up, The Jay Sheldon Show. Give us a follow and a subscribe over there. And thank you for that. We appreciate it. All right, we're live. It's happening. It's going on right now. And this is Hump Day in the middle of the week. Wednesday or Wednesday, as they say. A Wednesday. I still haven't gotten an answer to why my mom used to call them D's instead of days. But anyway, who cares? Hey, good news, everybody. Justice back on the menu in the U.S. Yet another of the countless dividends of Make America Great Again is the potential restoration of a little bit of faith in the justice system. And man, could we use some. Only possible, of course, when the bad guys go to jail. Absolute monsters being turned back out on the street in the blue states until they finally commit a heinous enough murder to make national news. Well, this is no longer happening on the federal level. In real life, turns out you can't stalk officials. You can't dox their innocent families. You can't try to run them over with your car without getting into some really hot boiling water. What a difference a real Department of Justice makes. Monday, Marine District U.S. Attorney's Office, the Maine District U.S. Attorney's Office, released the most amazing news brief. Listen, a Thomaston resident pled guilty today in U.S. District Court in Portland to assaulting a U.S. Border Patrol agent engaged in his official duties. According to court records, August 2025, U.S. Border Patrol agent responded to a one-vehicle crash in Washington, Maine. Law enforcement conducted a roadside investigation. Olivia Wilkins, 24 years old, came on the scene in an automobile and parked close to officers. Wilkins voiced concern regarding Border Patrol's presence in the area, but was permitted to move the vehicle further back from the crash to continue observing law enforcement. And as the Border Patrol agent took an individual on the scene into custody and began moving the individual to a nearby Border Patrol vehicle, Wilkins accelerated quickly towards the agent, who pulled the individual off the roadside away from the oncoming vehicle. Wilkins stopped the vehicle and did not strike either the agent or the individual in custody before swerving back into the lane of travel and fleeing the scene. Maine State Police troopers were able to arrest her a short distance away. The statement also says the FBI investigated. Hallelujah. What a great upgrade from the days when they investigated Catholics or school kids' parents. Also a nice touch that the two illegal aliens who crashed the truck were taken into custody and taken off the road. But you take one look at the violent felon's reported LinkedIn account. It has since been taken down. And that will tell you exactly the kind of mind virus that is very, very strong with this one. Take a look at this idiot. That is her LinkedIn account. Black Power. It's not even a proper rainbow flag. I don't know what the hell that is. It appears to be the same woman. What a freak. Here's the best part of this cautionary tale. The heaping help of find out, FAFO. Well, the judge dished it out onto this failed young person's plate. Face up to 20 years in prison, a fine of $250,000, and up to 3 years of supervised release. And she will be sentenced after the completion of a persistent investigative report by the probation officer. Federal district judge going to determine any sentence after considering sentencing guidelines, other statutory factors. Good. You are in a heap. And I hope he throws the book at you. Meanwhile, earlier this month, 2 other harpies achieved federal felon status at the hands of a California jury, no less. How unbelievable is that? From the Attorney General's office in the Central District of California. Justice served against 2 agitators who stalked a federal employee, live streamed it on social media, and traumatized the victim and his family. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asali says, quote, "Our Constitution protects peaceful protest, not political violence and unlawful intimidation." According to the evidence, the defendants, while dressed in black and concealing their faces with black face masks, followed the victim from a federal building in downtown L.A. to his personal residence. The victim headed home to his family for an outing that included a surprise for his sons, ages 3 and 7. The defendants live streamed on their Instagram account their pursuit of this victim and provided directions as they followed the victim home and encouraged viewers of their live stream to share the live stream. This is just a small sample of the ladies' live stream outside this agent's private residence as they called for Klan-style terrorism to rain down on his family and the man. And a bit of a language warning here. It ain't pretty, but then again, neither are they. Look at these idiots.
Piece of shit IEC thug lives here with his wife and 2 kids. Time for justice for migrants. He's got cameras fucking everywhere out front. Mask up if you're coming to handle business.
Mask up if you're coming to handle business? What? Unbelievable. The jury found Coloradoan Ashley Brown, what a great name, and Californian Cynthia Ragoiza guilty of felony stalking. When they got to the victim's neighborhood, the 2 shouted to bystanders live streaming on Instagram that their neighbor is ICE. La Migra lives here, and ICE lives on your street, and you should know. Ragoiza threatened to pop the victim. Yeah, the victim's wife, whom the defendants targeted with all kinds of disgusting racial slurs, and the children witnessed what was going on. The kids, age what, 3 and 7, I think I said? Victim and his family had to locate to a different county. Significantly disrupted their education for the kids. 3-year-old son. He's already got a disability. He's lost several social and health care benefits tied to his former county because they were forced to move. They've been convicted now. Central California USDA office says Judge Stephen Wilson scheduled a June 8th sentence hearing, at which time they will face up to 5 years in federal prison. Wrecked innocent young children's childhood. Throw the book at them. The days of these idiot, wrathful women imagining themselves to be some kind of noble instrument of justice, they're done. They're over. We're not putting up with it anymore. Truth is, they're just uncommon criminals. They are now facing federal charges, and they are unstable morons. Good luck in prison, ladies. Enjoy your stay. Absolutely disgusting. Iran has caved to Trump. Yesterday, Trump announced Iran's agreed to permanently abandon their nuclear weapons program, central condition for ending the military strikes on Tehran. Now, I'm seeing back and forth from both sides. Iran says, screw you, fire some missiles. No, they didn't. Yes, they did. The president says they're agreeing to things. He said, we're actually taking this to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly, you have no idea how badly they want to make a deal. That's Trump. There is, however, a catch. This is what I'm talking about, this back and forth. And who to believe? Iran is still denying that they're talking to us. They have not stated that publicly, denied even talking to the U.S., but Trump has made it clear that the no nukes demand is necessary if the U.S. is going to stop this military campaign. Those comments from the president came after the U.S. and Iran were preparing for another round of negotiations to bring a ceasefire about, also gearing up for a major combat operation if the talks fall apart. I'm going to have to go with my gut and trust Trump on this. His optimism really clear, and it sure sounds like he thinks a deal is possible. He even described Tehran as having talked sense. Trump says they're talking to us and they're making sense. He made it very clear he wants Iran to give up their nuclear materials right down to the nuclear dust as a part of the ongoing peace talks. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that, he told reporters. Meantime, the Department of War gearing up to send thousands of troops from the Army's 82nd Infantry Division to deploy in the Middle East, about the last thing I think anybody would want. But they are preparing just in case. They're expected to announce deploying about 3,000-person brigade combat team from the North Carolina Elite Unit in support of the U.S. Trump also revealed yesterday there was a significant prize tied to the Strait of Hormuz. They're going to make a deal. He said they did something Monday that was amazing. They gave us a present. The present arrived today, and it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. He would not disclose what the gift was, but said it was oil and gas related and connected to the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said they can't have certain things, and it starts with no nuclear weapons. They've agreed to that. They're not going to have enrichment, any of those things, and we are in about the best bargaining position. We are way ahead of schedule. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, is heading up all these negotiations. So there's still a lot on the table. Very hard to discern what's real and what's not. Like I said, I'm going with Trump on this. I'm going to trust my gut. See what happens. Blood on J.B. Pritzker's hands again. This was not random misfortune. Authorities say Loyola University freshman Sheridan Gorman shot in the head by an illegal immigrant who found sanctuary, of course, in Chicago. Thanks, Pritzker. Biden, Pritzker, Brandon Johnson helped make another angel family with their deadly sanctuary policies as idiots. Liberal politicians' thoughts, blame shifting once again, will not bring justice to those now, sadly, who are mourning the latest young victim of violence, reportedly at the hands of yet another criminal, illegal immigrant. Fellow Illinois angel parent knows this nightmare all too well. Pritzker and their crew very clearly have blood on their hands. Friday of last week, Chicago police arrested Jose Medina. Remember, we talked about him yesterday. Charged him with first-degree murder and related charges in the death of Sheridan Gorman. Medina fatally shot the 18-year-old freshman at 1 a.m. Thursday, accused of approaching the college student wearing a mask, carrying a handgun. This is a scumball who never should have been on the street in the first place, except it's Chicago, a sanctuary city. And Pritzker, you, my friend, are directly responsible for this death. They just don't care. This is good news, this next story, in a rather odd way, but it is. America's most infamous serial baby killer, Kermit Gosnell, is dead. 85 years old. Good riddance. He spent decades butchering late-term and born-alive babies. His absolute barbaric practices resulted in the death of at least one woman and countless babies. I'm going to warn you, this story is tough to hear, especially for younger listeners, so just be aware. One of the most prolific serial killers and abortionists in America is dead, finally, after spending 12 years in a Pennsylvania prison for brutally murdering babies that had been born alive. Kermit Gosnell, 85 years old, first reported by Flem McAleer and Ann McKinley on Monday, March 23rd. Spokeswoman with the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections later confirmed to the Federalist news site that he was transferred from the state correctional institution to an outside hospital where he died March 1st. Cause of the death still unreported. If corporate media had their way, the countless deaths at this scumball's hands would be the same. Instead, thanks to whistleblowers and a few journalists, including the Federalist's own Molly Hemingway, Gosnell's crimes, and more importantly, his victims, will never, ever, ever be forgotten. He is known, his most known work, Gosnell, leading the Women's Medical Society abortion facility in a poor part of Philadelphia for more than 30 years. Before he ever opened his own abortion mill, Gosnell was already involved in absolutely brutal experiments that killed babies and injured women. May of '73, Philadelphia doctor placed razor-rigged coils in the wombs of 15 poverty-stricken pregnant women, the idea being to slice up their unborn babies in the womb. This mass procedure, later dubbed the Mother's Day Massacre, caused 9 of the women serious complications, including a punctured uterus, hemorrhages, infections, retained fetal remains. Somehow he escaped the state and avoided any kind of punishment for this satanic cruelty. Pennsylvania Department of Health first flagged a few of Gosnell's violations back in '89, 10 years after he got his first approval to open his facility. He ignored the warnings, he ignored the law, paid his fines, knowingly continued this unbelievably dangerous practice, employing unqualified personnel to administer very dangerous drugs. His modus operandi, January 2011 grand jury documents, the state overlooks the dozens of lawsuits filed by Gosnell and filed against Gosnell, and even ceased inspections of his practice early in '93 to appease the Pennsylvania pro-abortion politicians. They just stopped looking. He was free to do whatever he wanted to, and he did. It wasn't until a 2010 raid prompted by a federal investigation into Gosnell's illegal pill mill operations confirmed the worst of the whistleblower's fears. His facility, dubbed a house of horrors by the FBI and state police who raided it, unsanitary conditions, broken medical equipment, untrained and unlicensed staff, teenagers on staff, teenagers. They reported seeing and smelling animal urine, feces-soaked stairs, blood-stained blankets, furniture, floors, and the remains of 45 babies stored in bags, milk jugs, orange juice cartons, and even cat food containers. This is disgusting. Philadelphia District Attorney Seth Williams says, "My comprehension of the English language cannot even adequately describe the barbaric nature of Dr. Gosnell. 20% of the infants recovered were reportedly murdered after 24 weeks. Pennsylvania's gestational cutoff for permissible abortions. Another 3 evidently had their spinal cords snipped after birth by Gosnell. I told you this was going to be rough. Decades-long abortion racket featured many repeat customers, some racism against his own skin color, not only involving butchering late-term and born-alive babies, but also resulted in the overdose death of at least one female patient. This absolutely unbelievably satanic, gruesome operation ultimately earned Gosnell hundreds of charges for murder, infanticide, conducting abortions in violation of the state's late-term prohibitions. He was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced eventually to 3 life terms in 2013. Brutal, barbaric, bloody, and corporate media pretty much ignored the whole story. Hardly a word. AP, ABC, NBC, CBS, New York Times refused to cover this case as it unfolded. They would not cover it. One Washington Post writer actually had the audacity to suggest that details about the most prolific serial killer of all time was a local crime. Didn't meet her policy issues criteria. I mean, God forbid we go so big and actually dismiss abortion policy in general. Unbelievable. Washington Post then executive editor Martin Barron went so far as to claim ignorance of this 3-year-old Gosnell raid story. Oh, I had never heard of it. Duh. Unbelievable. He's dead. Good. I couldn't possibly be happier. Absolutely disgusting man. Unbelievable. And if okay, he's dead. We no longer have to deal with this guy. His history is horrific, but it is exactly that, history. One thing we do have to deal with are things like this idiotic Indiana court who are now decided to call abortion a religious exercise. Oh, you're going to love this one. Nobody passed a robust statute protecting religious freedom for the purpose of ensuring that people could use that law to kill their unborn children. An Indiana trial court has just made a deeply troubling decision that abortion may be a part of the right to religious exercise under Indiana's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. March 5th, not that long ago, 20 days ago, a decision reveals a lot of problems with our current legal system, understanding of what religion is, and how far we've come from the culture of the founding of this country. The lawsuit was filed by a couple of anonymous plaintiffs, which to me should not be allowed. You're going to file a suit, you better have the balls to stand up and take credit for it. A group called Hoosier Jews for Choice, who all allege that the Indiana law, which makes it a crime for doctors in the state to perform abortions in most cases, they claim it violates the plaintiff's religious exercise rights under the state's RFRA law. Now, there are simply narrative problems left unchallenged by the court. For example, one of the plaintiffs believes that, at least prior to viability, a fetus is a part of the body of the mother. Now, that is factually incorrect, not a religious belief at all. Whether you call an unborn child a fetus or a zygote or an embryo, it is scientifically not a part of the mother's body up until some arbitrary point in time, like viability, when it becomes something other than a part of the mother's body. From the moment of conception, the unborn child has DNA distinct from that of its mother. Let me repeat that. From the moment of conception, that unborn baby has distinct DNA different from its mother. You hear me? Religion does not entitle people to their own set of facts. That is a fact. And this whole argument leads to an unbelievably slippery slope. There's no rational reason to claim that pre-viable baby before a certain age is a part of the body of the mother, and then it becomes its own person separate from the mother at some later stage in pregnancy. Completely arbitrary. If the court accepts this claim as a legit religious belief, there's no good reason why some different religious individual could claim a religious belief that a nursing infant is still attached to and dependent on his mother, and also is a part of the body of the mother. There's nothing stopping them from making that claim, stupid as we know it is. So do you have a religious right to kill a nursing newborn? By an extension of this ridiculous law, yes, apparently you do. That's the slope I'm talking about. Under the First Amendment, I think I've gotten argued convincingly that this is not a religion. Lawmakers, common man in the founding days would have understood religion as the duty which we owe to our Creator. Someone who does not believe in a single theistic God, but some vague notion of a powerful force in the universe, may believe that in good faith it is not a religion for the purpose of the First Amendment. But what do we do with the RFRA? Indiana passed this law back in 2015, the protection of the exercise of religion. This is nonsense, absolute nonsense. The fear of conceiving a child through sexual intimacy is not a legal harm. Killing an innocent child, not a religious exercise. Come on. Being prevented from doing that is not denying anyone a right. This is a disordered desire to escape the natural consequences of marriage and sexual intimacy, which often means begetting children. This is a pure attempt to escape reality. These people are not living in the world of reality. Indiana. Good luck with that. You're going to need it. Have you ever wondered how some of these people on YouTube and other platforms get so many views? Well, I can tell you that a lot of them are paid for. And you gotta wonder, how do they accomplish that? Well, the police, and I don't know where this happened, does it say? It does not. But because the ID on the back of this cop's vest says Policia, I'm guessing it might be some sort of Latin country. This is what's called a view farm. Quick video as the cops raid a view farm. Take a look.
Olha isso. Meu Deus do céu, são centenas.
Dados no YouTube, é uma fazenda de visualização.
Quem montou isso aqui gastou uma fortuna.
A gente precisa chamar o pessoal da inteligência agora.
O celular até o teto.
Parece uma colmeia.
Look at that. Every one of those phones viewing a YouTube video, a Rumble video, an Instagram post to get those view counts up there. And that's just one little room. This is insane nuts. That's what's called a YouTube view farm. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Meta is in for a little bit of problems. It is looking at a $375 million verdict after a jury found that they misled the public on child risks. If you're going to mislead the public, it better not have anything to do with our kids. Keep your freaking hands off. With the hair on the back of my neck starts standing up. New Mexico jury handed Meta a $375 million verdict, finding the company misled users about the safety of its platform and exposed children to harm. Case brought by the State Department of Justice, one of the first ever successful state trials against a major tech company over child safety. Yeah, the prosecutors targeted how Meta built its platforms and what it told the public about their safety, not just the content that users posted. Penalty stems from violations of New Mexico's Unfair Practices Act. Thousands of individual violations counted towards the total. The state sought a higher number. Jurors still applied the maximum penalty per violation on the claims they accepted. Meta executives knew their product harmed children, disregarded warnings from their own employees, and lied to the public about what they knew. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres said after the verdict. Prosecutors argued that Meta understood the risks tied to addiction, exposure to harmful content, and sexual exploitation, but they continued to present their platform as safe for younger users. Jurors agreed Meta was making misleading statements, took advantage of minors, failed to disclose fully what it knew about those risks. More than 40 state attorneys general have filed similar lawsuits. New Mexico's case relied on an undercover accounts posing as children. Prosecutors said those accounts documented repeated sexual solicitations and showed Meta's safeguards were not working as described. The company said it discloses risks and invests in safety tools, but they acknowledge that harmful content still can appear. Well, the jury said that Meta misled the public about the risks to kids, rejected the company's position it had been clear about them, and that they were doing something about it. And the jury said, no, you're not. Of course, this ruling is going to stand, but of course, Meta, with their bank of billion-dollar lawyers, will be appealing. So, we'll see where it goes. Chances are they can out-pocketbook these people, and they will. This is a great one. Unbelievable. USC, listen to this headline. USC canceled a California gubernatorial debate. You ready for the reason? Because not enough candidates of color qualified. The Democrats love to go on and on about the dangers to democracy. This even as they shredded the California state constitution to get the gerrymandering Prop 50 on the ballot, refused to pass a federal act that would require voters to show an ID, keen on turning Election Day into some sort of month-long affair. And now, in the golden state of California, they cannot even be bothered to hold a crucial gubernatorial debate. Why? Because the event failed to check off all the correct woke boxes. You see, not enough candidates of color qualified. And of course, that must be racist. Racist. So they're just going to take their ball and go home. Typical. University of Southern Cal canceled yesterday's gubernatorial debate after facing fiery criticism about excluding every gubernatorial candidate of color. The university defended the methodology they used to determine who got invited to take part in the forum. They canceled the debate less than 24 hours before it was set to take place because of this controversy. We recognize, they said, the concerns about the selection criteria for the gubernatorial debate have created a significant distraction from the issues that matter to voters. The thing is, no candidate was disqualified because of color or because of their gender. They didn't make the cut because they didn't meet the USC's viability criteria. Combination of polls and fundraising numbers, something Democrats in the state often have a lot of trouble comprehending. It's called reality. A lot of those who didn't make the grade urged their fellow candidates to boycott the event, which set off this huge firestorm. angry tweets asking the Department of Education to take action. Hit 'em where it hurts, he said. Steve Hilton. Californians deserve a debate. Democrats killed it. USC let them. They got $1.35 billion a year in federal funding, and this is how they handle a major public event during an election. I suspect a lot of the Democrats are rather satisfied with the outcome, because now the people don't get to see exactly how flawed some of these candidates are. Former Rep. Katie Porter, toxic, unpleasant witch from hell on wheels. Swalwell, whenever he opens his mouth, something juvenile pours out of it. Billionaire Tom Steyer doesn't even pay attention to the politics in the state he's running in. San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan may have been capable of a good performance, but we won't know now, will we? What they didn't want to do was give Steve Hilton and fellow Republican Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco, who's also doing very well in the polls, any kind of a chance to shine. Because democracy dies in the darkness and all that other bullshit. California. Unbelievable. We're back at it again. I thought we were done with this insanity, but apparently we're not. Maryland, what the hell? Maryland Democrat wants tampons in the men's room in order to blur the distinction of sex, gender. This idiot Maryland Democrat, and I do mean idiot, introduced a bill that tries to blur the distinction between the two sexes by requiring the men's public restrooms have tampons. Ken Kerr, House Bill 941. Requires public restrooms in public buildings to provide an adequate supply of certain hygiene products, including appropriately sized tampons. The bill defines menstrual hygiene products as being appropriately sized tampons, sanitary napkins, and pads for use in connection with the menstrual cycle. Well, Maryland, I really hate to break this hard news to you. You might want to sit down. Men do not have menstrual cycles. What? Yeah, I know. Per the bill, every public restroom in every public building will have toilet paper, hand soap, and menstrual hygiene products. This is real. This is not satire. Take a listen.
Menstrual hygiene products means appropriately sized tampons. What are appropriately sized tampons? I've never heard of such a thing. What do you consider appropriate?
It just means that tampons are offered. There's no specific size.
Well, apparently there's 4 different sizes, so which one would you like them to use?
Just a regular sized tampon in the bathroom.
Okay, maybe it should say that and not appropriately sized tampon. Now, is this going in all bathrooms, men's
Yes.
and women's?
Yes.
How about the Ravens Stadium?
If it is a state-owned building, then yes, it would go in. It's a public building.
Oriole Park?
Well, if it applies to the Raven Stadium, it would also apply to Orioles Park.
I guess Pimlico. Menstrual hygiene products means appropriate.
Oh, man. Maryland State Delegate, that's Kathy Saglia there. Love her. Unbelievable. She continued to question whether tampons would be put in the public restrooms. He continued to say if it's a state-owned building, yeah, they would be, men and women. One person told the outlet, I don't see an issue with it. For me, it doesn't seem like an issue that's a problem. One person told them it would be weird. Another person, Maria Henderson, explained that if women realize they don't have any tampons, their husband or boyfriend would be able to grab some from the men's room. Man. I cannot keep doing these stories. I cannot keep showing you how stupid some of these idiots are. And they actually got the majority of votes which elected them to their positions. More people voted for these assmongers than didn't. Can you explain that to me? I'm at a loss. I'm also done. That's it. Thank you. Follow, subscribe, hit up our sponsors, buy something, support the show. Seriously, I need a nap. I'll see you tomorrow.